Good evening from the Ataturk Stadium, where you can probably see Manchester City are training behind us. An hour's open training session the day before the final. We've just had the press conference as well. Pep Guardiola, Ruben Diaz and Kevin De Bruyne are talking. Plenty of content on the Manchester City News website from that. In terms of training, the headline, Simon, with me, is Kyle Walker training. We knew he was in the squad. Inevitable, I guess he was going to train then, but he is here, he is training, and you have to think that means he's going to be available tomorrow, Si.
Yeah, there was like doubt earlier in the week when he wasn't training with the rest of the squad. Guardiola said he had a bit of a back issue. Walker said he'd be fine. He's travelled, he's trained, he's as ready as he can be. Kevin De Bruyne was talking just then about a long season and said, if you're fit, you can play these games. You've still got enough energy at the end of a long season. Whether Walker will play is still up for a bit of debate. You've got to think that Kyle Walker, Manu Akanji and Nathan Ake are playing for two places really, but Walker's been in favour and is probably expected to keep his place.
Yeah, I think me, you and Joe have all picked Walker in our team. We've all picked the same team. It feels like a fairly simple selection for once for Guardiola, and he's had that settled team in the big games now for a little while, hasn't he?
Yeah, and it is, there's comparisons to be made with the 2021 final when they lost to Chelsea, but kind of there, City were really good January to March, and they're kind of falling away April and May, whereas they've hit form later in the season. Ruben Diaz today called it the sweet spot, and there's no need for any sort of surprise tinkering, or we will all be gobsmacked if there's a surprise on the team sheet tomorrow, because you can pretty much pick 10, if not 11 of the players that will start, and that is kind of transposed in a very kind of relaxed and settled mood from all the players, really. Yeah,
it was noticeable at the press conference that they all came in separately. Inter did 3 players together and the manager. City had the 2 players in separately, and then Guardiola, and everyone seemed pretty relaxed. There was a lot of jokes. Guardiola kind of joking about Haaland and Messi being why he's such a good manager. There was De Bruyne's brilliant line about whether it was love at first sight with Haaland and how he actually prefers his wife. It did just feel very jovial, didn't it? Considering how busy that press conference was. I mean, the room was rammed. Guardiola, as soon as he sat down, made a joke about big game, is it? It was a very relaxed atmosphere, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of been a deliberate effort from Guardiola and the team. After they played the last Premier League game of the season against Brentford, they had kind of 2 weeks, and they could have turned that into a camp of let's really nail down for the FA Cup and the Champions League, and they didn't. They had time off before the United game, and then they came back in on the Wednesday for the Saturday game. They had time off if they wanted it after the United game, just kind of treating it as they would during the season and giving these players rest, because they do need time to recuperate and refresh and go again, and that's why we've seen them be so good. And we don't know if they will win tomorrow, but they certainly seem to have done everything they can to win.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you make of the press conference then? There's some interesting stuff from De Bruyne towards the end when he was asked about the Champions League being a dream or obsession, and basically admitting that it is both. And I think it's probably clear that is the case now. What else caught your eye in the
well, I mean, Guardiola sort of mentioned that obsession, but said, obsession can be a healthy word. For a long time, Pep has said that nobody at the club has said that he has to win the Champions League, and then ahead of Real Madrid he kind of slipped in that, well, they do expect it though. Everyone at this club expects to win the Champions League, expects Guardiola to win the Champions League, and it's pressure. And also for this set of players, they've arguably been the best team in Europe for quite a few of the last 5-6 years, but they don't have that trophy to say that. And De Bruyne spoke about the FA Cup recently and said, I've only won one, I want to win another one, and they went and did that on Saturday. They desperately want to win the Champions League. İlkay Gundogan, skippering the team out tomorrow, lost 2 finals. He's in Turkey, which means so much to him and his family. There's so much on it even before you get to the T word.
Yes, indeed. We're 4.5 minutes in, we've not actually mentioned the treble. I thought it was interesting actually that De Bruyne said we need to win that first one, and you do feel like they could easily win it 3 times in the next 4 years or something if everything stays as it is. Obviously, there's certain issues hanging over that we all know about Guardiola's future, but it does feel like if they get the monkey off the back, they could win a lot more, couldn't they?
Yeah, and that it was significant kind of after Wembley, because obviously we in the media, but also fans, are interested in the treble, because it's only been done once before, and by United, and City have beaten United and other top teams on the way towards, nobody's ever been as close to matching United. But for Guardiola and the players, it kind of almost just winning the Champions League is more important than the treble. The treble's kind of a byproduct of doing that, but they're desperate to win this Champions League more than they are desperate to win the treble, which is kind of says about the ambition of the players and the managers who just want those trophies and those winners' medals.
And just finally, something that Pep said that was fairly interesting about the Champions League anthem that I'm sure fans will be interested in. Obviously it's booed at the Etihad every game. Whether it will be booed tomorrow we don't know, but Pep has made his feelings very clear on it, hasn't he? He doesn't want it booed, I think it's fair to say, on Saturday night.
He said, what's happened in the past is the past, it's a day to celebrate. It'd be interesting to see if fans do it. Fans have got very good reasons for doing it, and I spoke to the 1894 group ahead of the semi-final, and they said, we aren't able to separate our feelings towards UEFA with the feelings towards the Champions League, and if you look at the knockout games at the Etihad this season, they've beaten Leipzig 7-0, they've beaten Bayern 3-0, and they've beaten Real 4-0. So it hasn't really hindered them.
Not affected them, has it? Maybe it's good luck.
What Guardiola can be sure about is tremendous support tomorrow night, and I sort of looked at the 2021 final because we were coming out of COVID and all that. There were 6,000 City fans allowed in the stadium. There's going to be 20,000 in here tomorrow night, so it's kind of a really big opportunity for them to see the club lift a trophy they never have before.
Absolutely, and we'll have plenty more video content and written content, of course, for you tomorrow, so keep an eye on all the MEN's social channels. But that is all for now from Istanbul.